Have you ever stood in a room full of people who are supposed to love you and felt like you were nothing but a prop in someone else's performance? That's how it felt the day of my best friend's baby shower. The day that should have been all joy and celebration was, for me, the day I realized betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes wrapped in a smile, hidden behind a hug, whispered in the laughter of the people you thought you could trust the most. I looked around that room, streamers hung in perfect pink and gold, cupcakes lined in neat little rows, my so-called best friend glowing at the center like she was the star of the show. And yet, in every detail, in every sideways glance, I felt the sting of being pushed aside, erased. My sister's voice too loud in the corner, my best friend's hand brushing against her arm a little too long. My husband watching me with those eyes that knew something was off, even before I could put it into words. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just a shower. It was the stage where all the lies would start to unravel. And by the end of it, I would make sure everyone knew the truth. Before I take you into the storm, let me pause for just a moment. If you've ever been betrayed by someone close to you, someone you trusted with your whole heart, you'll understand why this story still shakes me to my core. And if you've ever sat in silence, swallowing pain until it burned inside you, then you'll know why I couldn't stay quiet forever. So, before we go deeper, hit that like button, subscribe, and join me here. Because this isn't just another revenge story. This is about being erased, disrespected, and underestimated. Until finally, you make sure your truth can't be ignored. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 31 now, living in Dallas, Texas. But this story started 4 years ago, back when I thought my life was steady. I was married to Daniel, my college sweetheart, the one person who always seemed to understand me when the rest of the world didn't. And I had 2 women I thought would always be my constants. My little sister, Lily, and my best friend since childhood, Hannah. Hannah wasn't just a friend. She was like the twin I never had. We grew up side by side, sleepovers, late-night phone calls, whispered secrets in the back of classrooms. She was the first person I told when I got my first period, the first person who hugged me when I bombed my driving test, the person who stood by me as maid of honor when Daniel and I got married. And Lily, she was my baby sister. 4 years younger, fiery, stubborn, always craving attention. We had our sibling fights, of course, but underneath it, I loved her fiercely. I thought she loved me the same. But what I didn't realize was that love can twist, that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who sharpen their knives in the shadows. The cracks started small. When Hannah announced her pregnancy, I was over the moon for her. She cried when she told me, and I cried right along with her, already imagining the late-night calls for advice, the stroller walks, the way I'd spoil that baby rotten as Aunt Emily. But almost immediately, I noticed Lily inserting herself into the spotlight. Hannah would invite me to doctor's appointments, and then subtly, Lily was the one going with her. Hannah would text me about nursery ideas, but then post photos of her and Lily at HomeGoods, picking out decorations without me. At first, I brushed it off. Lily was younger. Maybe she just wanted to feel included. Hannah was kind. Maybe she didn't realize she was leaving me out. I told myself not to be petty. But it kept happening. Every time I showed up, Lily was already there. Every photo, every moment, every update. It was Lily at Hannah's side, smiling like she'd claimed my role. And Hannah let it happen. Daniel noticed too. One night after dinner, he said quietly, "Have you felt off about Hannah and Lily?" I tried to laugh it off, but my throat was tight. Maybe I'm just imagining it. He shook his head. "You're not. I see it too. The way they look at each other, The way they exclude you. It's not in your head, Em. His words stuck with me. Because Daniel wasn't paranoid. He wasn't dramatic. He was steady, rational, always the first to calm me down when I spiraled. If he saw it too, then it was real. The baby shower was supposed to fix things. Hannah had told me for months that I'd be co-hosting with Lily. At first, I was hurt. Why wasn't I hosting alone, like we'd always planned since we were teenagers? But I swallowed it, told myself it would be fine. The day came, and the house was dressed like a magazine spread. Pink and gold balloons floated against the ceiling. A banner read, "Welcome, baby Grace." And tables groaned under trays of sandwiches and cupcakes. Guests flowed in, gifts piled high. I should have been proud. I should have been glowing alongside Hannah. Instead, I was invisible. Lily flitted from guest to guest, introducing herself as if she were the guest of honor. She gave tours of the nursery Hannah and I used to dream about, now filled with things Lily had picked. She even stood at Hannah's side when it was time to open gifts, her hand resting lightly on Hannah's shoulder, like she owned the moment. I hovered at the edge, clutching a plate I couldn't eat from, smiling too hard until my cheeks ached. Daniel caught my eye across the room, his jaw tight, his brow furrowed. He saw it too, the way Hannah leaned toward Lily, whispering, the way Lily announced each gift, her voice loud and commanding, while I stood silent, ignored. And then it happened. One guest, a woman from Hannah's church, smiled at Lily and said, "You must be the sister. You and Hannah look so close, like family." Lily laughed, squeezing Hannah's hand. "We are. We always have been." The words landed like a slap. We always have been. Not me. Not Emily. Lily and Hannah. I excused myself to the bathroom, locked the door, and stared at my reflection in the mirror. My hands were shaking. My chest was tight. And for the first time, I thought, something is wrong. Something is happening between them that I can't explain. And I'm the fool, standing outside, watching it unfold. I stayed until the last gift was opened, until the last cupcake was eaten. I smiled for the photos, hugged Hannah, hugged Lily, pretended everything was fine. But when Daniel and I got in the car to leave, I couldn't hold it in anymore. "I feel like I'm losing them both," I whispered, my voice breaking. "My best friend and my sister." Daniel reached for my hand, his grip firm. "You're not losing them. They're betraying you. There's a difference." His words burned into me. Betrayal, that's what it was. Not a misunderstanding, not me being dramatic. Betrayal. And that night, lying awake, staring at the ceiling, I realized something even worse. This wasn't the end of it. The baby shower wasn't just a celebration. It was the beginning of the unraveling. The night after the baby shower, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my body still buzzing from all the fake smiles, the hollow laughter, the way I felt shoved into the background of my own best friend's life. Daniel lay beside me, his breaths deep and steady, but I could feel the weight of his hand on mine, like he knew even in his sleep that I was breaking. By 3 a.m., I got up, padded into the kitchen, and made myself tea. My reflection in the darkened window startled me. Eyes hollow, hair messy, a tightness around my mouth I didn't recognize. I looked like someone who had been erased. That's when I whispered it out loud, the words clawing up my throat. "They're shutting me out." At first, I tried to gaslight myself into believing I was wrong. I told myself, "You're just hormonal. You're just sensitive. They're overthinking." I told myself that Hannah was still my best friend, that Lily was still my sister, that I was imagining the way they brushed me aside. But Daniel wouldn't let me ignore it. One evening, as we cleared the dinner plates, he said, "Em, I can't watch you torture yourself like this. They're not acting right. Hannah barely texts you back, and when she does, she mentions Lily like she's her shadow. And your sister, God, she's practically moved in with her." I set down the plate, my hands trembling. "You see it too?" He nodded. "Every time. And it's not you. It's them." That should have comforted me. Instead, it made the fear sink deeper. Because if Daniel saw it, then it wasn't paranoia. It was betrayal, blooming in plain sight. The weeks after the shower were a blur of small humiliations. Hannah posted nursery updates online, photos of Lily painting tiny flowers on the wall, Lily assembling the crib, Lily holding up baby clothes with a proud smile. My name was never mentioned. When I stopped by to drop off a gift, Lily opened the door instead of Hannah. She leaned against the frame, smirking. "Oh, hey, didn't know you were coming." Inside, Hannah looked surprised, but not happy. Surprised. More like caught off guard. "Emily, we were just finishing up some things." I glanced around the room. Diaper bags in the corner, takeout containers on the table, Lily's sweater draped over a chair. It looked like Lily lived there. I handed Hannah the gift bag, my throat tight. "I just thought you'd like this. A baby blanket. I knitted it myself." Hannah smiled, but her eyes slid toward Lily before she thanked me. And in that moment, I felt it. The shift. Hannah's loyalty, her warmth, was no longer mine. It belonged to Lily. At night, the silence in my apartment felt heavier than usual. Daniel would hold me, whispering, "I believe you." But even his words couldn't stop the doubts that gnawed at me. What if I was losing Hannah for good? What if my sister was replacing me? One memory, one inside joke, one nursery detail at a time. The thought made my stomach twist. Things escalated when Hannah went into labor. She'd always promised I'd be the first call. I'd pictured it 100 times. Her voice on the phone, frantic and excited. Me rushing to the hospital, holding her hand through contractions, welcoming baby Grace into the world, like the aunt I longed to be. But the call never came. Instead, I saw a Facebook post, Hannah in her hospital bed, sweaty but smiling, Lily holding baby Grace, tears streaming down her cheeks. The caption read, "The moment we've been waiting for. Thank you, Lily, for being my rock through this." Lily, not me. I dropped my phone on the counter and screamed. Daniel ran in, alarmed, but all I could do was sob, gasping out. She didn't call me. She called Lily. She called her. Daniel wrapped his arms around me, rocking me back and forth, as if I were the child being comforted. "I'm so sorry, Em. I'm so sorry." The betrayal cut so deep I couldn't breathe. For days I avoided visiting the hospital. I couldn't bear to see Lily in the photos, cradling Grace like she'd earned that place in Hannah's life. When I finally forced myself to go, Lily was there, of course, sitting in the rocking chair, humming to Grace. Hannah beamed at her like she was family. When Hannah noticed me, her smile faltered. "Emily, you made it, like I was late to my own role." I held Grace for a few minutes, my heart aching at her tiny features, her soft coos. But when Millie reached to take her back, I felt like I was handing over my place in the world. After that, I pulled back. I stopped volunteering updates, stopped trying to wedge myself between them. But the distance didn't help. It only made the betrayal more obvious. Hannah invited Lily to every milestone. First bath, first doctor's visit, first time Grace rolled over. And every photo, every caption, every moment. It was Lily's name, Lily's face, Lily's presence. I was erased. The breaking point came at Grace's baptism. I assumed, foolishly, that I'd be asked to be godmother. Hannah and I had dreamed about this since we were 12. But when the priest announced Grace as godparents, it wasn't me. It was Lily. The church spun around me. My ears rang. Daniel squeezed my hand, whispering, "Stay calm." But I couldn't. Afterward, as guests mingled, I pulled Hannah aside. My voice shook. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you even ask me?" Hannah glanced at Lily across the room, then back at me. "Emily, you've been distant. Lily's been here for everything. It just made sense." Made sense. I swallowed hard, my hands trembling. We promised each other, since we were kids. And you just... My voice cracked. You gave it to her. Hannah's eyes softened, but not with regret, with pity. "I'm sorry, Emily, really, but things change. Things change." I walked out of that church with my head spinning, my chest on fire. Daniel followed, his face grim. "That's it," he said. "They've crossed the line. They don't respect you. They don't love you the way you love them. And they never will." His words echoed in my head for days. They never will. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. At work, I stared blankly at my computer, my hands numb. At night, I lay awake replaying every memory, every birthday, every secret, every promise Hannah and I had shared. And every laugh Lily had stolen from me, twisting it into her own. And somewhere in that darkness, a seed planted itself. If they wanted to erase me, I thought, then I'd show them what it feels like to be erased. Revenge doesn't start with rage. It starts with silence, with that hollow, suffocating quiet after the storm, when your tears have dried, but your chest still aches like something has been carved out of you. That's where I was. After Grace's baptism, I cut them off. No more texts, no more visits, no more pretending. If Hannah or Lily wanted me in their orbit, they'd have to notice my absence. Spoiler, they didn't. But pulling away gave me space to think, to breathe. And in that silence, my pain hardened into something sharper. It was Daniel who gave me the first nudge. One night, he set down his beer, looked me straight in the eye, and said, "Emily, you can't keep letting them walk over you. They've rewritten the story like you were never part of it. Are you just gonna let that stand?" His words stung, because I knew he was right. I shook my head, tears burning. But what can I do? They've already erased me. Daniel leaned closer, his voice steady. "Then write yourself back in, loudly, permanently. Make it so no one can ever ignore the truth again." That was the turning point. I realized I had two choices: keep rotting in silence, or drag the truth into the light. And once I chose the second option, there was no turning back. The first step was gathering evidence. I went through my phone, scrolling back years, photos of Hannah and me at every milestone. High school dances, college move-ins, late nights with pizza boxes and cheap wine. Our friendship wasn't just real, it was documented. Every laugh, every hug, every promise. I printed them all. Then I dug through texts, conversations where Hannah had called me her sister, where we dreamed about raising kids side by side. Screenshots piled up, dates, receipts, proof. And then I pulled Lily into focus. Photos of her arriving late to events, texting me excuses while Hannah confided in me instead. Times Lily wasn't there, when Hannah and I were. Proof that Lily was never the rock she pretended to be. Side by side, the contrast was stark. Me, years of loyalty. Lily, months of convenience. But convenience was what they'd chosen, and I was about to show everyone what that choice really looked like. Next step. Allies. The first was Daniel, of course. He was my anchor, the one who kept me from drowning in doubt. But I needed more, so I reached out to Sarah, another childhood friend who had drifted away but still kept tabs on social media. She'd been at the baby shower too, sitting in the back, watching Millie parade around. When I told her everything, her response was immediate. "Emily, I knew something was off. The way Lily kept talking over you, the way Hannah didn't even look your way. It was disgusting. I'll back you up if you need me." Her words lit a fire in me. The next ally came unexpectedly, Hannah's cousin Marissa. She messaged me after the baptism writing, "I don't know what's going on, but I feel like you're being pushed out. And it's wrong." When I confided in her, she admitted she'd overheard Lily bragging at a family barbecue about being closer to Hannah than Emily ever was. That was it. Proof not just of betrayal, but of intent. Lily hadn't stumbled into Hannah's life. She'd stolen it. But allies weren't enough. I needed a stage. That's when fate handed me the perfect one, Hannah's baby dedication party. A huge celebration planned for Grace's 3-month milestone, with family, friends, co-workers, even church members attending. The very same crowd who had watched me fade into the background at the shower and the baptism would be there. And this time, I wasn't going to fade. I spent weeks preparing. I created a slideshow. Yes, a slideshow. On the surface, it was about celebrating Grace, but woven through were photos of Hannah and me across decades, proving who had truly stood beside her all those years. I added screenshots of texts, carefully framed so they looked casual but undeniable. Hannah calling me her rock, not Lily. Hannah thanking me for being there when Lily wasn't. I rehearsed what I would say, standing in front of the mirror until the words felt like steel on my tongue. Not angry, not desperate, calm, controlled. I wanted them to hear me, not dismiss me. "My name is Emily Carter," I whispered to my reflection. "For 30 years, I have been Hannah's best friend, through every storm, through every joy. And yet in the last year, I have been erased. Tonight, I want to remind everyone of the truth. Each time I practiced, I felt stronger." Daniel supported me through it all. One night, as I clicked through the slideshow, he said quietly, "Once you do this, there's no going back. Hannah might never forgive you. Lily will hate you. Your parents might even take sides. Are you ready for that?" I stared at the screen, the faces of me and Hannah as little girls, smiling with gap-toothed grins. My throat tightened. "Yes," I whispered, "because I'm done begging to be seen." The night of the dedication party, I dressed simply. A navy dress, understated makeup. I didn't want to look flashy. I wanted to look like the truth. As we drove to the venue, a rented church hall decorated with pastel balloons and a cake the size of a coffee table, my heart pounded like a drum. Daniel squeezed my hand. "You've got this." Inside, the room buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses. Hannah floated from group to group, baby Grace in her arms, radiant. Lily followed like a shadow, always one step behind, always in the frame. When Hannah spotted me, her smile faltered for just a second. Maybe guilt, maybe surprise. But I didn't flinch. Because tonight, I wasn't the background character. Tonight, I was the story. The night of the dedication party, the church hall gleamed like something out of a magazine. Tables lined with lace cloths, pastel flowers and mason jars, cupcakes stacked high in the shape of a cross. A massive banner hung on the back wall, Grace Marie, dedicated with love. And standing beneath it, like they owned the moment, were Hannah and Lily. Hannah glowed in a pale pink dress. Grace nestled in her arms. Lily stood beside her in a matching shade, smiling like she'd coordinated the whole thing. Every guest who approached seemed to orbit them both, laughing, complimenting, offering gifts. Not once did their eyes drift to me. Daniel and I slipped into the crowd, and as I scanned the room, I could feel the nerves thrumming in my veins. My clutch felt heavier than it was, the USB drive inside like a live wire. This was it. My moment. The speeches started after dinner. First, Hannah's father, talking about family legacy. Then her pastor, blessing baby Grace. And finally, Hannah herself, her voice warm as she thanked everyone for coming. But what gutted me wasn't her words. It was the way she looked at Lily as she said, "I don't know what I would have done without you these last few months. You've been my rock, my sister." The crowd clapped, Lily preened, and my stomach turned. That was my cue. As the applause faded, I stepped forward. My heels clicked against the polished floor, sharp in the sudden quiet. Hannah froze mid-smile. Lily's eyes narrowed instantly, her jaw tightening. I walked to the front, my hands steady, even as my pulse raced. "Excuse me," I said, my voice carrying through the hall. "I'd like to say a few words." The MC, a church deacon, hesitated, glancing nervously at Hannah. She looked panicked, but before she could protest, I continued. "My name is Emily Carter. Many of you know me as Hannah's best friend since childhood. Or, at least, I thought that's what I was." Gasps rippled through the room. Lily stiffened. Hannah's face drained of color. I pulled the small remote from my clutch, clicking it. The projector flickered to life on the back wall. A photo appeared. Me and Hannah at age 12, arms wrapped around each other, smiling with braces and messy hair. "This," I said, pointing to the image, "is where it started. Hannah and I promised each other that no matter what, we'd be there for each other. Through everything." Click. The next photo. Hannah and me at high school graduation, caps in hand, tears on our faces. We were there for the big moments. Click. Me standing beside Hannah at her wedding, holding her bouquet as maid of honor. In the sacred ones. Click. A screenshot of a text from Hannah. "Emily, you're my sister. You've always been my rock. And through every storm, she said I was her anchor. Her family." The crowd murmured louder now, shifting uneasily. Lily crossed her arms, her smile brittle. I kept my voice calm, steady. But somewhere along the way, the truth got rewritten, erased. Lily stepped into the frame, and suddenly, everything I'd been for 30 years, every sacrifice, every promise, was handed to her like it had been hers all along. Click. A photo from Hannah's Facebook, Lily painting the nursery wall. I swiped to the next slide. A photo of Hannah texting me that same week, asking me to design the mural. "Proof," I said simply. Click. Lily holding Grace at the hospital, captioned, "Couldn't have done this without you, Lily." Then my screenshot, the unanswered texts I'd sent that day, waiting for Hannah to call me first. Proof again. By now, the room was tense, buzzing. People whispered to each other, eyes darting between me, Hannah, and Lily. Hannah stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Emily, please, this isn't the time." "Oh, it's exactly the time." I cut her off. My voice cracked like a whip. "Because you built this whole event on a lie. You let my sister take my place. You erased me. In front of everyone. As if I never mattered." I turned to Lily, locking eyes with her. "And you? You knew what you were doing. You weren't filling a gap. You were stealing. You wanted to be me. Lily's face flushed scarlet. That's insane. You abandoned her. I stepped up when you didn't. I laughed bitterly. Abandoned? Look at the proof. I gestured to the screen behind me, filled with years of photos, texts, memories. I was there before you even knew what loyalty meant. I didn't abandon her. You pushed me out. The silence stretched thick. Finally, an older woman from Hannah's church spoke, her voice sharp. Is this true, Hannah? Did you let your sister steal her place? Hannah's lips trembled. Her eyes flicked between me and Lily. For the first time, she looked trapped. I never meant to hurt anyone, she whispered. Lily grabbed her arm. Don't listen to her, she's twisting everything. But the crowd wasn't buying it. Not anymore. I closed the slideshow, tucking the remote back into my clutch. I don't want pity. I don't want applause. I just want the truth on record. I will not be erased. Not by my best friend. Not by my sister. Not by anyone. The applause that followed wasn't thunderous. It was steady. Certain. And it wasn't for Hannah. It wasn't for Lily. It was for me. I walked back to my seat, my heart pounding, my chest heaving with relief. Daniel reached for my hand, his eyes fierce with pride. On stage, Hannah stood frozen, Grace squirming in her arms. Lily's face was twisted with fury, her mask ripped away. The whispers around them grew sharper, louder, until the room that once adored them now doubted everything. And me? For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt seen. Fallout doesn't explode like a firework. It spreads slow, like smoke, thick, unavoidable. It seeps into every corner until no one can pretend it isn't there anymore. And after the baby dedication party, the smoke was everywhere. The morning after, my phone buzzed non-stop. Texts from people I hadn't heard from in years. Some were stunned, some were supportive. Some admitted they had always felt something was off with Hannah and Lily, but never had the proof until now. On Facebook, photos from the party had already surfaced. Someone had captured me mid-speech, standing with the projector behind me, Lily glaring at me like a cornered animal. Another shot showed the guests' faces, half in shock, half nodding along. The comments poured in. Good for you, Emily. Family or not, betrayal is betrayal. Never liked that sister of yours. Always seemed too smug. Loyalty matters. You don't just erase people like that. For once, I wasn't invisible. But not everyone celebrated me. My mother called me that afternoon, her voice icy. Emily, what have you done? You embarrassed your sister in front of the whole community. I laughed bitterly. I embarrassed her? Mom, she stole my place. She paraded herself as Hannah's shadow while pretending I never existed. She was only trying to help, my mother snapped. You've always been too sensitive, too dramatic. And there it was, the same refrain I'd heard my whole life. Too sensitive, too dramatic, the family scapegoat. But this time, I didn't swallow it. No, I said firmly. This time I wasn't dramatic. I was honest. And if honesty embarrasses you, maybe you should ask why. I hung up before she could answer. My hands shook, but my chest felt lighter than it had in years. Daniel was my shield during those days. He fielded calls, deleted hate comments, reminded me, you did the right thing. When doubt clawed at me at 2 a.m., he pulled me close and whispered, they don't get to rewrite you anymore. Still, the fallout hit Hannah and Lily harder than I'd expected. Hannah's job at her church grew tense. People whispered after services, side-eyed her in the parking lot. One woman even confronted her in public. How could you treat Emily like that? after everything she's done for you. Hannah tried to defend herself, but the damage was done. Her perfect image as the sweet, loyal friend had shattered. And Lily? She unraveled. Her Instagram, once filled with glossy photos of her holding Grace, flooded with angry comments. Fraud. Thief. Not your baby. Not your friendship. She disabled comments, then her entire account. I heard from Marissa later that Lily had a screaming match with my parents, accusing them of not defending her enough. She slammed doors, stormed out of the house, and disappeared for days. The golden child mask was slipping. And without it, Lily was just a girl who had built her identity on stealing mine. Hannah reached out once. She showed up at my apartment unannounced, Grace in her carrier, her eyes swollen from crying. "Emily," she whispered, standing in my doorway. "Please, can we talk?" For a moment, I almost let her in. Almost. Because Grace's tiny coos tugged at my heart. Because Hannah's face still held the echoes of the girl who used to braid my hair and dream with me about the future. But then I remembered the baptism, the hospital, the way she had let Lily push me aside without a word. And I stepped back. "There's nothing left to say," I told her. My voice didn't shake. "You made your choice. Live with it." I closed the door. Her muffled sobs echoed in the hallway as she left. In the weeks that followed, I noticed the shift everywhere. At the grocery store, neighbors who used to gush over Hannah now nodded at me with quiet respect. At church, people sought me out, asking if I was okay. Even at work, a coworker said, "Emily, I saw what you did. That took guts." For once, my story wasn't whispered in shadows. It was out in the open, undeniable. And the best part, I didn't have to defend myself anymore. The proof had already spoken. But revenge isn't just about destroying them. It's about reclaiming yourself. And slowly, I did. I started painting again, something I hadn't touched in years, because Hannah always teased me that my art was just a hobby. Daniel hung my first finished canvas in our living room. I joined a women's support group, where I told my story in pieces, tears streaming, other women nodding because they'd been erased too. And for the first time in my life, I felt something stronger than anger. I felt peace. Meanwhile, Hannah and Lily's bond didn't last. Without the audience, without the spotlight, it withered. Hannah stopped posting photos with Lily. Family events grew awkward, Lily sulking in the corner while Hannah avoided her gaze. They had betrayed me together, but betrayal breeds more betrayal. And I didn't need to be there to watch it collapse. Months later, I passed Hannah on the street. She was pushing Grace's stroller, her shoulders hunched, her glow gone. She saw me but didn't stop, didn't wave, just looked away. And that's when I knew the friendship was truly dead and I was finally free. Revenge isn't the fairy tale ending people imagine. It doesn't erase the betrayal. It doesn't stitch back the broken promises or bring back the people you lost. But it does give you clarity. Months after the baby dedication, I sat on my balcony one cool spring morning with a cup of coffee, the sun rising over the Dallas skyline. For the first time in years, my chest didn't ache. My hands weren't trembling. My mind wasn't spinning with what-ifs. I thought about Hannah, the girl who once swore we'd raise our kids side by side. I thought about Lily, the sister I had defended even when she didn't deserve it. And I realized something. Their betrayal didn't define me. My response did. By standing up, by refusing to be erased, I reclaimed myself. It wasn't easy. There were nights I still cried, mourning the friendship I thought was unbreakable. There were mornings I woke up wondering if I had been too harsh. But every time doubt crept in, I remembered the slideshow, the gasps, the applause, the moment the truth landed, undeniable, and the lies shattered. That moment wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice. About reminding myself, and everyone watching, that I mattered. That my loyalty had weight. That my history couldn't be stolen. Panna and I never spoke again. Lily faded into the background, her reputation scarred. And me? I learned to stop chasing love where it wasn't given freely. I poured my energy into the people who truly saw me. Daniel, my support group, friends who reached out after the fallout. I discovered that peace doesn't come from begging for someone else's validation. It comes from building your own. And when I looked back on it all, I didn't see myself as the girl erased. I saw myself as the woman who refused to disappear. That, more than anything, was the sweetest revenge. So now I'll ask you, what would you have done in my place? Would you have stayed silent, swallowed your pain, let them erase you? Or would you have stood in that church hall like I did, with your proof in hand, and let the truth burn through the lies? If this story made you feel something, anger, sadness, vindication, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, because here, we don't just tell revenge stories, we live them, we honor them, we learn from them, and I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you've ever been erased, overlooked, betrayed by someone who should have had your back. Because sharing our stories is how we remind each other we are not invisible. Revenge isn't always about destroying the other person. Sometimes, it's about proving to yourself that you deserve to exist, loudly, unapologetically, in your own truth, and that's exactly what I did.